All right, ladies and gentlemen, the last reaction for today. We had a crazy chapter of One Piece. Time to see what happens after Shishiba has fought with Gozu, and we're moving on to Seba versus Kipe. Let's begin. Yo, peoples! Qushu92 here. Welcome back to more Sakamoto Days. As I've stated, Shishiba has triumphed in his fight against Gozu, being, stopped from going into the light by Mr. Yotsumura, who also recovered Miss Osaragi, and he's there with his son Amane. And of course, little conversation between the two is like, how come you didn't try to find me sooner? And he's all like, it's complicated. I went to go get milk, and it was across the country, and you need to wait at least 15 years for that milk to be ready. So he was like, yeah, I don't want to talk about it. It was hard. It was difficult for me to face you. So all that's going on, being tended to by Yotsumura, and we end the chapter with Kipe back at the JCC facing off against Seba, while Mafuyu looks like he's, on the ground. And it looks like we're not going on break after this chapter either, so let's see what happens with days 256 seconds. And we have Kipe speaking to Seba. Also, CDs, good to see you. It's better if you don't resist. You'll just cause yourself needless pain and suffering. You're not dumb. You know you have no chance of winning. And then Seba goes, we'll see about that. Yeah, I know. This guy's a beast on par with the Order. In the state we're in, we don't stand a chance of winning. Somehow I gotta get Mafuyu out of here. And Kipe tosses up a stone, just tosses up a random piece of rubble. Just a random piece of rubble. And then he tosses it up and swats it, and he hits it with such force. It literally tears up the entire area beyond Seba. Seba gets hit up in his shoulder and in his head, and he just it's like watching a high-grade machine gun tear up the concrete. That's how forceful this blow was. That one rock turned into shrapnel rounds that's capable of devastating the ground and Seba at the same time. And when Seba gets knocked down, he immediately looks up to see Kipe standing right next to Mafuyu, because Mafuyu is unconscious. And he has like his big, jagged edge club just right there on him. Just right there next to him. Mafuyu, get up! And then Sheena wakes up.
Wait.
You're awake, Sheena? You shouldn't move your head about. Stay put. I'm almost done.
Let me ice him. I gotta get him back or I'm not gonna be satisfied.
Yeah. You just rest.
I was just a little too lax this time.
And she sees her brother raise the club up, preparing to smash Mafuyu's head, and she's all like,
he can't hear me. Look at me, big brother.
As he brings his club down, he prepares to bring his club down, and his phone rings, and Kipe stops. Kipe speaking. You idiots, where are you? Sakamoto woke up and he's battling X. They took down a few of our leaders. We still have the advantage in numbers, but get over here as soon as you can. Brrr! And before this dude can finish the conversation, he gets clobbered by Boiled, who's also there with Kendaka. Making a call during a battle ain't hard-boiled. It's Sakamoto's buddies! Destroy them! Mind you, the ones looking after Atari is Kendaka and Hardboiled. Roger that. Time to go, Sheena.
Huh? But we're almost done. Why now?
Apparently they're short-handed. And Kipe and them, they just straight up start to leave. Mafuyu.
You losers got lucky.
And then Seba's just looking down. and Mafuyu jumps up, and even though he looked like he was going to be unconscious, Mafuyu jumps up and tries to go for Kippei's head, but Kippei would just, without even glancing at him, blocks it with his club and then just looks up at him as his blade's still attached. Quit looking relieved, big bro! If they just got summoned to Tokyo, Shin and the others must have the upper hand. And it's gonna stay that way. You guys ain't going nowhere! You're insane. At least Seba gets it. You two can lay down your lives trying to keep us here, but you're just gonna delay us by a few minutes at most. So then kill us first and go! In the space of a few minutes, Shin and the guys can destroy 10 enemies. You don't get it. When I said a few minutes, I was being polite. We're actually talking seconds. And Kippei, mind you, Kippei is like a fair distance away from Mafuyu. When he says, when I said a few minutes, I was being polite, and when he says we're actually talking seconds, he is already behind Mafuyu before he can move. We're actually talking seconds. And Mafuyu looks back as Kippei goes to swing on him. And when it seems like his club is about to hit Mafuyu, we get Seba, who is invisible, who blocks it with his arm. Seba! I know, Mafuyu. Those guys saved us a jillion times. It's time for us to put our lives on the line. Oh, great. You're letting the little brother call the shots. You're supposed to be the cool-headed older one. Yeesh. Here he comes. Nice work, Mafuyu. The seconds you just bought us were enough to mod your weapon. Oh, snap! What you mean? Wait a minute, what you mean? The seconds of Mafuyu attacking Kippei? And Seba has already modded his shoes with the blades coming out of it. In the seconds! In the seconds when they clashed! Mod? When did he... What is this? How? Heads up, dummy. Huh? And Kippei goes to smash on Mafuyu, and when that happens, Mafuyu's, they're basically like mini turbines that's on his shoes. They turn on, and Mafuyu manages to hit Kippei in the face. This is the first time he gets injured, and we see blood come out of his mouth. What's with his speed? Whoa, I could have used this from the get-go. That output level would have been too dangerous for you normally, but he's wielding it better than I imagined. This could work.
Right in the schnoz. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. You left me behind, you jerk! Stupid big bro! Quit looking relieved, big bro! And then Seba's just thinking about all the things that Mafuyu has said to him over the years. Mafuyu, never thought I'd see the day. Wonder who he gets that from. What? You're creeping me out. And then we get this chung sound as Kippei slams his club down on the floor. All right, you two. This has gone far enough. All right, you two. This has gone far enough. If you want to die that badly, then I'll kill you. That'll be easiest on everyone anyway. And Kippei just stands there, blood coming out of his mouth, as he's all like, yeah, if you want to die that badly, I'll be more than happy to kill you, because it'll be best for everyone. So, instead of this turning into like Kippei and Sheena getting away, leaving Seba and Mafuyu alive, they both said, no, Mafuyu and Seba said like, no, we're throwing hands with you. Because if they're having a hard time with everyone else on the other side and they need backup from everyone else, then that means that everyone on Sakamoto's side is doing their job. That means that Sakamoto who's already awake and facing off against X right now, is so significant of a threat that y'all need to stop trying to mess things up at the JCC and get down here, because we're getting slaughtered out here. And especially with Kendaka, neither Kendaka or Hardboiled have any marks on them whatsoever. Because mind you, all of these JA agents, they're not just coming at them with, like knives and swords and weapons. They got guns too. And the fact that both Kendaka and Hardboiled are chilling, even Kendaka's just looking at everyone like, hey, how you doing? What's up? He's just chilling with his hands in his pockets. You know you got the situation at hand when you're surrounded by hundreds of agents who want you dead, and you're just smiling, and you're just, kind of look like you're smiling. You're looking at him, and you just got your hands in your pockets the whole time. And Atari's just watching him. But one thing that's still terrifying about Kipe, though, is just his overwhelming strength. He took a small rock and hit it with such force that the shrapnel created from the destroyed rock basically turned into literal machine gun fire. It just peppered the entire area and just ripped up the floor, kicking up dust that basically eclipsed Seba in size in terms of just how devastating he was. And even after all that, when he's about to smash in the head of Mafuyu, he gets a call telling them that they need their help, having a hard time. All right, we're gonna leave. And then Mafuyu tries to attack him, saying like, "You're not going anywhere. If they just got summoned to Tokyo, Shin and the others must have the upper hand, and it's gonna stay that way. You guys ain't going nowhere. You're insane. At least Seba gets it. You two can lay down your lives trying to keep us here, but you're just gonna delay us by a few minutes at most. So then kill us first and go." In the space of a few minutes, Shin and the guys can destroy 10 enemies. You don't get it. When I said a few minutes, I was being polite. And then basically just pretty much instantly appears right behind Mafuyu. And when he goes in to hit him, Sebas takes the hit, and he just blocks it with his arm. And then saying like, "Those guys saved us a jillion times. It's time for us to put our lives on the line." Oh, great, you're letting the little brother call the shots? You're supposed to be the cool-headed older one. Yeesh. And then when Kipe goes in, not when Kipe goes in, Seba says, "Nice work, Mafuyu. The seconds you just bought us were enough to mod your weapon." And even with the speed that Kipe can move at, the speed in which Seba was capable of creating a modification for Mafuyu's shoe knives, for shoe blades, was enough for Kipe to wonder, like, when did he do that? And when it looks like Kipe is about to hit Mafuyu again, the boosters on his shoes come in handy and manage to land a solid hit directly in Kipe's face. And even after all this talk about Seba saying, like, "I wonder who you get that rebellious nature from," Kipe says, like, "All right, you two, this has gone far enough. If you want to die that badly, then I'll kill you. That'll be easiest on everyone anyway." So that means that Kipe is about to get serious and really, really, really try and kill Seba and Mafuyu. But you want to know what I think? I think with how unpredictably fast Seba is when it comes to making modifications, even in the heat of battle, this is something that Kipe is not familiar with. For all he knows, he just knows absolute speed and absolute strength, or going beyond speed and going beyond strength, showcasing scary levels of capabilities. But I don't think that he's ready for the sheer speed in which Seba can create things. The sheer genius of a mechanical expert, of an engineering expert, versus someone who's just fundamentally good at creating and building things. I don't think Kipe is ready for that. But it should be interesting as we start to really, really wind down the amount of people that are left that we have to contend with before we get back to Sakamoto and Uzuki and bring this whole altercation to a close. Because after Kipe and Sheena are dealt with, who is now conscious, by the way, so she could possibly be a factor in this fight that could, throw a wrench in the plans, given her very hot-headed and unpredictable and very destructive nature, it could wind up working. It probably could wind up instead not working just against Mafiu and Seba, but also working against Kipe. I'll get me some sleep later. Because I think I woke up kind of early today. It was like 6:30 something, and I usually don't wake up that early. But should be interesting to see how this fight goes on, with Kipe saying, like, if you really want to die that badly, I'll help you. Because it's gone on far enough. And he doesn't seem like the type to drag things out. He wants to end this as quickly as possible. So it should be interesting, once again, interesting to see how this fight goes on and where Mafiu and Seba are going to be at the end of the day if they bring down Kipe. Because then they have a story to tell. Hey, we beat someone whose strength is just absolutely monstrous, and we live to tell the tale. And we also beat his sister as well. We beat both of them. So it should be interesting. I keep saying interesting. Let's just see what the next chapter has in store. But overall, I like where this chapter was going. I like where it's about to go. And I can't wait to see what happens in the next chapter. Thankfully, we don't have a break, so we get another chapter of One Piece, and we get another chapter of Sakamoto Days, so it should be fun. But other than that, that's all I got for my reaction to Sakamoto Days. Glad that the Shishiba and Gozu thing squared up. Ain't got to worry about no flashback of Gozu and his past. Now we're focusing on Kipe and Shina versus Mafuyu and Seba. So that should be fun. But that's all I got for today. Time for me to eat my food, then I react to the newest episode of One Piece, get that uploaded, and then I'm going to relax, possibly take a nap, because I feel it on me. But other than that, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Even consider supporting me on either membership or Patreon, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. And because I know you're coming back anyway. Have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples!